I'm in 1%. I'm probably in 0%, 0.1% of a person going to get a PhD. Let alone being in my community. Ain't nobody thinking about no, and for me, from where I was from, think about getting no doctor. I ain't grew up with no doctors. So for me, this is new for me. So every day I'm not only fighting myself because I'm like, I don't supposed to be here, but then in the back of my head, I am because I'm in these rooms.
Yeah.
I got a 12-year-old daughter. So for me, it's even more being cognizant of what I'm saying, what I'm around, how am I navigating in this space, because I know I'm not the only one.
What's going on, millionaires? It's your guy Kai Speaks back for another episode of the $1 Million Mind Podcast. We in here with Heavy House Jazz, who about to say something. Go ahead, Jazz.
No, I'm not. I'm about to say let's start over. I want to take my coat off.
Go ahead and take your coat off.
All right, thanks.
I ain't gonna take it out though.
All right, great.
So Jazz, how you feeling?
I'm feeling great.
Now that you got your coat off, you feeling cooler now?
Yes.
All right.
Feeling
Not too
amazing.
warm.
Nah, we good.
All right, perfect. So man, I'm feeling good about this conversation, Jazz, because it's like what we said with our shell. It's just kind of like bringing it back to the basics, centering ourselves, kind of needing that therapy, grounding ourselves with that mind, making sure our mind is right. And I mean, it's real fitting for the fact that it's called the $1 Million Mind. So we got a mental strategist in the building today, a brother that's really tapped in, in the mental health community, making sure our brothers and our sisters are really tapped in with their mindset, making sure that they are not bearing too much more than they can handle. And if we are bearing too much, more than we can handle, how can we get back into ourselves and just kind of work through that mentally. But without further ado, let me pass the mic and the camera to our guest, Nafis Ricks, speaker, mental health advocate, all the above, man. Nafis, go ahead and tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and how you got into the mental health journey.
Well, first, I want to say thank you for having me on this podcast. It's a blessing to see you guys create something so special. But I can give you a little bit background about me. Originally from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, from the inner city. And my journey is kind of unique in a sense where I feel like I'm a hybrid. I was raised partially in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yeah.
And I had the opportunity to grow and learn from a man like my father and my grandfather, who kind of helped me transition. It wasn't a smooth transition, but it was one that was necessary because he was in the streets. He was a hustler, the whole shebang, got shot multiple times. And it's one of those things where he didn't want that for his kids. He didn't want to. He didn't want us in Philadelphia to grow up in an environment where we mimic his behavior. So he pulled us out of that environment, and that was one of those things where it was kind of it made me feel less than because he didn't give me a reason why we left Philadelphia. It was just more like getting in his car. Me and my little brother had to move down to Charlotte, and the rest was history. So for me, sports was kind of like my outlet. And when I think about sports, I use it as an opportunity to get my frustration out. So I didn't play it because I loved it. I played it because it was more of articulate myself.
Yeah.
My pop was very strict. Education was the thing that we had to really lean on. He didn't play basketball, so I didn't have that. He played tennis, so I used to gravitate towards tennis, swimming. And the one thing that I noticed from making that transition from Philadelphia to Charlotte was the schools was built it out opposed to build it up.
Yeah.
So, in Philadelphia, they build it like prisons. So
Yeah.
every time I go in, even elementary school, I go into elementary school in Philly, I'm going through a metal detector. Off the top, in my mind, I'm already perpetuating what prison could be like at an early age. So when I go down to Charlotte and I'm in a diverse community, you got Spanish, you got Asians, you got all these different, I'm a little out of place. I'm a little angry because it's like, why he make me move here? I'm with all my people back in Philadelphia.
Right.
And I'm in a new city. They talk country. And I'm like, what is this? Not knowing that was the best thing for me, being away from my mom. Not saying being away from my mom was the best, but being with my father and my grandfather, they taught me how to be a man. The one thing that I felt like I struggled with is learning how to interact with women. Not in a negative way, but bring them flowers. Oh, say you look nice. Send them a card. Meaning like I didn't have that nurturing because my mom was away from me.
Got you.
So that was a big struggle. As I always know how to be respectful. That was number one in my household. But so I always felt like I was missing something.
Got you.
I was missing that love from my mom, and not saying she wasn't giving to, but she wasn't an immediate.
And it's you can give love, but it's different from receiving love on a FaceTime call or a phone call, as opposed to coming home from school every day and the first thing you do is get that hug. It's good to see you. I'm glad that how was your day and all that kind of stuff. So I definitely get that. It's funny hearing you still bring me back home to Philly when I hear your accent. And it's funny that you say like, so how much time did you spend in Charlotte? Did you spend a lot of time going back to Philly, like maybe summers and stuff like that?
Yeah, so when I said earlier I was a hybrid, I never fit into Charlotte because we moved down there when I was in 2nd grade. And so I went from 2nd grade to 10th grade.
So like 7 to about like
16.
16.
So,
Okay.
but I'm going to Philly every summer. My oldest brother's living with my mom. And I don't fit in with Charlotte, but I don't feel in Philly because I'm country.
Yeah.
I got the Jabot jeans on and they're wearing state property.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm from Philly. And they like, no, you from Charlotte. Then when I'm in Charlotte, they like, you from Philly. I'm like, I don't fit in.
Wow.
So I was always fighting that.
You literally just said
Where I'm at, like what's going on or whatever. So for me, we used to go to Philly every summer and I used to cry. The 2 months we been in for the summer, I'm like, my mom buying me everything. I'm with my older brother. I'm like, I'm with everybody in the street. And then next thing you know, we got to go back to school. And I got to fly back down to Charlotte.
Yeah.
I don't want to stay here. But not knowing, sports was like, once again, I was exposed to so much stuff because my father and grandfather allowed us to occupy that space and gave us something different. So it wasn't until about like the 7th, 8th grade where it was a transition for myself. My brother was murdered at the age of 19. I was 14. And that kind of forced me to go back, me and my little brother to go back to Philly. When I got the phone call, I can remember like it was the back of my hands. Like it was probably around 9 o'clock. I just talked to my brother the night before. He was sending me and my little brother some Jordans. And then next thing you know, I get a phone call. They called me into the office, whatever. They let me know the news. My brother was murdered 9 a.m. in the morning.
Wow.
The one thing I can remember that plays vividly in my brain, that my mother's cry. So I always know when a mother's crying a certain way, I know it's gun violence.
My pastor says it.
Wow.
I know it. I can hear it. It's like ringing in my head.
Yeah.
So I never get comfortable when every day I'm always thinking about, I know what that looks like. I can see it in the face. I can see it in the arms. I can see it. My mom cried so loud. It was one of those things that stuck with me forever. And the one thing that I said to myself after that incident happened, that I would never put my family in that position to ever have something happen to me. Now, if something happened, a bullet fly or whatever the case, I get hit by a car, whatever the case, man, and I go out like that, I can live with it. But it won't be I'm putting myself in a situation to ever have my mom cry like that the way she did. So it wasn't until my sophomore year when we decided to move back from Charlotte to Philly.
Right.
Mind you, once again, I'm a hybrid. I'm too country to fit into Philly.
Yeah.
So I go back. So I had to throw my Jabot jeans off. I'm in state property. And you know, that's at the time, that's our uniform. We were in Dickie suits. And I'm like, this is like prison. We got to wear whatever we wanted down south. Now I'm like integrated into a society, like grown women, like at my school is like, they getting picked up by these dudes that's 26, waiting for these girls. I'm like, these girls fresh.
Yeah.
So I didn't know how to adjust to that. So all I knew was I'm gonna play sports.
You just keep your head down and just run with the sports.
But I was spoiled. I had curly hair. I was feeling myself. I'm 16. I'm playing with all the guys that hoop. They never seen me before, so they trying to figure out who's this guy or whatever, transitioning into this school. And the one thing I found out, my mom was letting me drive with no license at 16. I'm driving a Benz, a purple Benz, with no license. Me and my little brother. So everybody looking at us, new kids, where they come from?
Yeah.
But not knowing that we from here. We from here, but nobody knows us or whatever. So that was like my ego was setting in, and I didn't know how to really reel it back in.
Because now you was like this mystery kid.
Yes.
And
But more privileged.
yes.
Which
Yeah.
is, you
And
got a dart on your back at this point.
and an open mind because you was exposed to so many different cultures down south. So it's like you thinking differently, you talking differently. You this mystery guy that is like everybody's like, yo, especially for like at that age for the ladies, the mystery guy is always the one that's the most attractive now.
Yeah.
And then for the dudes, it's like now you was about to disagree.
I was gonna say somewhat.
Somewhat, okay. Or he could be the clown.
They still trying to figure him out. That's the thing. It either makes them scared.
But that's what I mean by attractive. I don't mean attractive as in like always the best looking. I mean attractive is like that's who people are gravitating towards to figure them out, right? And it's the same way with the guys. Like the guys are trying to figure out if is he a threat? Is he cool? Like you know what it is. So man, I could see how you would have a big head like at that age.
For sure.
You know, in that scenario. Was you at one point humbled, or did you feel like it you had to like kind of like take a step back, or like
he put on those jeans? He threw them
well, he threw the jeans
out.
but
that was him taking a step back.
Yeah, but I'm saying like now that was after that was before the fact, right? So now you in it, you getting all the attention. You this mystery person. Like, was there anything that humbled you, or how long did that mindset, I guess, perpetuate in your life? Until what age?
So I always felt like I was, like I said before, I was respectful, low key or whatever.
Right.
But I think sometimes my aura gives off like I'm not worrying about the next man. So when you got that nonchalant attitude and you knew, it always come with some type of pushback. Like, who is this guy? And I didn't go to the neighborhood school with all my friends. I did that intentionally because I knew I was gonna see them every day. So I went to the school out a little bit for Robert E. Lamberton, like right by the main line. So nobody really knew me. So I'm going to another neighborhood, driving a Benz, they like really like, who this guy or whatever. Not knowing like if we got any issues, my neighborhood is way on the other side. So if I got any trouble, they gonna drive up here, whatever the case. So I'm dealing with so many things, just trying to survive in the neighborhood. When I got humbled, I had to fight. Like I had my first like real rumble at school because of my brother. Like my brother got into it with some guy, whatever the case may be, and we like they ain't think we can fight. Like, so we had to fight our way out of it, and that's when they really start respecting us, or whatever. We wasn't just the dudes that driving the Benz and going, because everybody ride the city bus. You know, a lot of people don't ride the school bus because we don't have transportation like that in Philadelphia. So now it's like I earned my stripes, and then I was getting basketball. So now dudes start really respecting me. And my school was small. We probably had 200 people graduate from just the high school.
The class, right.
just the whole school, but let alone like 80, 90 people that graduate from the high school my year. So for me, it was more like, I was happy that I was in a position to not only just, my mom gave me that privilege and that opportunity to drive because it wasn't safe.
Yeah.
But I still like, I didn't flaunt it in people's face. I used to drive people home or whatever, but I was feeling myself. I was like, it was an ego thing for sure. But I was like, you know what? I love the transition for me. I love that we came back to Philly and I got that grit because it made me hone in on who I was, and the environment told me like, if you don't get humbled, the street's gonna humble you. So I stayed in my lane. I stayed as an athlete.
Would you say that finding that lane to stay in was that, or would you say that's something that is duplicatable for other people that find themselves in a situation where they're both, but to the people on the outside looking in, you're not enough of this and you're not enough of that. So for the people that might be, in a similar situation, or you're not enough,
you're not black enough, you're not white
black enough.
Yeah,
exactly, pretty much. Like,
I've seen this
is that a duplicatable process where people just finding your lane to stay into, where you can have that own identity of self, as opposed to trying to convince each group why you're enough? Like, how would you say that worked for you?
I think my neighborhood allowed me to be me, and I was always a silly kid and goofy, and they knew I liked to play basketball, so they always kept me away from it. So I knew everything was going on in the street, but they just didn't allow me, and I was scared. Like my pop used to whip my ass. My pop wasn't playing that. Like, dude, you gonna do as I say.
Because he been there, done that, so he definitely wasn't playing with you.
No, not at all. And then my mom was like, at 16, I already felt like a man already. What was she gonna be? She wasn't gonna whip me. Like, I'm like, because I'm not gonna get in trouble. I'm not gonna give you a reason. I don't have to sell drugs. I was spoiled in a sense where my mom, if we needed something, my mom would get it. Flat out. We ain't never had to ask or anything like that. My mom is just a giving person. So for me, it's like, why would I put that stress on her? Now in her mindset, she will probably be thinking more about me and my brother because she lost a son. So I understood, like, sir, I'm driving a Benz. It's one of the dangerous cities in the country. Gun violence is at an all-time high. And I think I had enough examples in the street. I got over 80 to 100 people that got killed that I grew up from the time I came back from gun violence in my immediate circle. So for me, that's all the example that I needed. Like, so I think to answer your question, I think you can duplicate it, but I think you got to have a strong foundation. I think me living with my grandfather and my father allowed that to, like, yo, listen, you either want to be a street kid or you want to be in this education and make sure that you doing what you're supposed to. Don't go outside yourself. So my pop and them did an amazing job letting me know who I was at an early age. So I ain't never had to feel like I had to fit in with somebody.
Word.
So what would you say to that kid that doesn't have that solid foundation, that maybe still doesn't love basketball?
Yeah.
Or she still doesn't love playing with Barbies, or, can go to swim class. What tools would you say to that kid that's, like I said, not too black enough or not too smart enough or cool enough?
Yeah.
What can they do to ground to make it out of a difficult environment and still be successful like how you are?
I think the biggest thing is find people who are aligned like you. And I know that's difficult at this age and with all the stimulus that's in the world. But I think with the use of social media, it could be good and bad. For me, I search people who I'm interested in. Meaning, like, if it's somebody that I admire, I'm DMing them
Right.
because I like the information. You know, everybody has some type of weirdness about them that they like. And I think once you reach out and you get past that wall where you're not scared to get rejected, that allows you to you never know you never know the response that you may get. So don't be afraid to somebody tell you no,
Yeah.
but find a tribe or a community of people who thinks like you based on what you see.
Yeah.
And then get to analyze it, because the power in social media is like you'll never know like who you
It's
might
true.
meet. And I would say go out to somebody in the community, but if you got all these bad examples, you live in a sick environment, it's nobody really to look at. So you got to kind of outsource it. So
Yeah.
that's what I would say.
Got it.
And like I want to touch on a little bit more because you spoke about a lot of loss in your life as well.
Yeah.
Like, what did that play a noticeable? Like, did you notice the difference that it made in your relationships? Like dealing with all that loss. Like, did you find it was hard to establish new relationships from friendships and stuff like that at that point?
Absolutely. Great question. That's a great
This
question.
is a good question. This is a great question for both of us.
Ooh, what I would say to that, loss, man, to be honest with you, with relationships, I think transparency. Sometimes I can't find the words, especially at an early age during high school, like with women, I couldn't tell them straight up what I was feeling because I was scared of losing. So I messed up a lot of women by not doing that, being transparent. And they were good women. Like I still want to be their friends, and I'm like, I didn't have the words because I was so scared of losing again. When I see my brother got killed, my friends got killed, and I'm stuck, and I don't know what to say, but I know what's gonna happen. They're gonna smoke weed, they're gonna drink the bottle, they're gonna have the shirts. It's like,
Dude, this is nuts.
It's like a cycle,
Yeah.
a continuous cycle.
so for me, I didn't know how to articulate myself. I was numb.
I'm over here like I'm done.
What you
I'm
feeling?
done today.
You must have found a place that resonated with you.
Yes, like Philly is a lot like Oakland,
Yeah.
and just hearing this guy, he's like running my whole life back to me. It's a lot. It's a lot to hear, but I'm very pleased. I'm pleased to see myself in male form on the other side of this chair. I'm serious. Because a lot of my friends are either gone or in jail for a long, long time. Yeah, it's just
Sorry to
like
hear
you,
that.
like it's hundreds. That's what we read. We read the newspapers, y'all.
Yeah.
That had all, like, how many deaths was it this year?
Yeah.
That's the only reason why we wanted to get the newspaper.
Yeah.
I want to include this because
Wow.
it's ringing in my ear. We had a guest a while back
That's
on one of the
alright.
other shows that I produced, and he had a hot take that was saying how, like, black people, how we have the great, and I say it was a hot take because this was not a brother that was black, and he was saying how black people, all of our strife and all the stuff that we go through, all the trauma, is like a gift and a curse. Because the gift on the other side of it is like we've already been through all the shit to where when it comes to like starting a business and losing some money, it's like, what, you lost money in the business? You ain't had no money for the first, for the first 30 years of your life,
Right.
so you already kind of know what it is. Oh, you lost this partnership. Unfortunately, you lost friends and family members due to gun violence, through the drug abuse, through all the things. So it's like, what it's like to lose people. And so when I hear your story and when I kind of hear Jazz kind of bring back how it resonates with her story as well, it's like unfortunate to hear, but I also do want to hear you kind of connect, like, through all these things in hindsight, like what lessons
fuels you
did
to-
these
yeah.
teach, like what fuels you to keep moving every day, and like what lessons kind of like keep you in front of and putting that next step forward.
Another great question. I think the examples that I see in the community, I think I got to model the behavior that I want to see change. And I think for me, like I said, I had a strong foundation. I put a lot on my father and my grandfather. Like, they did an amazing job, even when I didn't agree with why we moved.
Yeah.
And for me, I know a lot of my friends didn't have fathers in their life. So for me, I know you hurting. I know what it is when a man says something to you, and you clap back, and really he telling you the truth. I know what that looked like. When my pop used to sit me and make me kneel in the corner and read a book. So he didn't just tell me to sit in the corner and kneel in the corner. He made me read a book, and then I had to do a book report and tell him about the book. And I didn't know what that was doing to me. It was mentally breaking me because I couldn't articulate myself. But in the long run, I learned about discipline.
Yeah.
I learned about resilience.
That's right.
I learned how to fight. I'm fighting with myself every day because I made it. I'm in 1%. I'm probably in 0%, 0.1% of a person going to get a PhD, let alone being in my community. Ain't nobody thinking about no. And for me, from where I was from, think about getting no doctor. I ain't grew up with no doctors. So for me, this is new for me. So every day, I'm not only fighting myself because I'm like, I don't supposed to be here. But then in the back of my head, I am because I'm in these rooms.
Yeah.
I took the step. I get nervous. I get scared because I get isolated because I feel like that being in my community.
Yeah.
I don't sell drugs. I don't smoke weed. I don't drink no more. So I don't do none of the things that people, quote unquote, see in the inner city. I don't do those things. So therefore, you're not going to catch me out doing those things. So now when I remove myself, oh, now you think you better.
Yeah. And that's a skill too that a lot of people don't talk about. The skill to separate yourself before even if you can't separate yourself physically, separating yourself from the identity of what you see.
Yes.
Right? Like
Right.
if you in
Turning
a
away.
neighborhood that everybody's smoking weed, everybody drinking, selling drugs, everybody's like doing all these things, how do you separate yourself and say, I'm not that person, even though I see it every single day?
Man, so once
Make a
again,
choice.
It's discipline.
yeah,
It
but,
is.
but once again, I knew, like I said, my mother, my grandfather, my father laid the foundation.
Yeah.
My mom got us everything, and I'm driving a Benz.
Yeah.
What more? Why are you doing what some people's survival have to do, in a sense, for them personal selves and their family? If they got to sell drugs or whatever the case may be, you don't have to do that. So if I was to do that, I'm going outside myself.
Now you different though, because let me hear.
Sounds like they bred a thinker.
They did. They really did a great
what
job.
I was a thinker. They taught him how to think.
Yeah.
Putting you in that corner, building that resilience, making sure you had a book in your hand. Yeah, you can't do this.
Yeah.
But you can do this.
Then what makes it different? Like what's going on with the kids that are? This reference for Nafis. That's like from Abington, that didn't end up getting into that lifestyle, right? Like the kids who, in your respect, these are kids that grew up with the Benz. They had both parents in the household. They were nurtured. They did all the things, but somehow in high school, that's the place where they now found themselves selling drugs, doing all these things. Like, what do you think is like happening for them? Because you saying, oh, I didn't do these things because this is what I had. But you got kids who have that, always had it, and still end up down that route.
I think the stimulus of social media. I think it's more accessible. I'm glad I didn't end up in an era with social media. I'd probably be locked up.
Word. Wow.
I think a lot of us would, a lot of stuff that was recorded or not recorded or told about, their life is flashing. Everybody's life is like a movie. It's hard not to. With cell phones, they capture every moment, all your flaws.
Moment, he's right.
So now it's like, for me, I'm glad I didn't have that. So you would never know what I did or what I didn't do. Now, I did some of the stuff that some of these people did. You just never seen it. Their life is in full-fledged, lights on camera, telling them how to think, feel, and all that.
Everything.
Everything. So I didn't have none of that, no stimulus. So I, like, for them, it's like, if I didn't have it as a kid, I wanted it as an adult. I want to at least experience it. And sometimes you can't get yourself out of that. Even though you might have privilege, they still want to know what's going on in the neighborhood. The neighborhood is what creates the culture, essentially. Like, you want to be with the popular kids, even though that you don't know what comes with that until you in it. So for me, it's like, I didn't really need to do it. I was still hanging out with everybody. I just didn't smoke weed. I didn't have to sell drugs. I was like, they would tell me, that's not you. You're going to get yourself hurt.
Word.
You're going to get yourself hurt out
Sound
here.
like some great friends.
Yeah, but they ain't had to tell me. I seen an example. I seen dead bodies on the ground. What more do I need to know? Like,
You created an outlet.
Yeah, I don't need to do that because either gonna get locked up, my limbs gonna get shot off, or I'm gonna be dead.
Have you found that, just in the mindset, right? Because everybody can be in the same environment. And you have this kid, right, that has this, like, you have some support, right? He has some support, she has some support, but everybody picks their own way. Have you found anything that would take people in the same environment with different mindsets and bring a good outcome?
I think I could. I think I'm going to go back in and go save them. And I'm not saving them, just save them from the pain, the strife, because I still have my struggles. Even though I had all of that, my mother and father was never married. So I never seen them intimate, not in a sexual way, hug, kiss, or whatever the case may be, to see what that looked like. Once again, I said I struggle with women. I used to get a lot of women because that was the thing.
Right.
But
getting a lot of women
You can take care of
yeah, right.
because you didn't know.
I didn't know.
I get it.
But that still didn't make it right, because the impact on those women still to this day. And I apologize to every one of them and let them know, like, as I got older, it said, yo, I apologize. And it took me a lot to do that, because I'm like, I didn't know, but I don't know what kind of pain I caused them.
Yeah.
I had a 12-year-old daughter. So for me, it's even more being cognizant of what I'm saying, what I'm around, how am I navigating in this space, because I know I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one that's going to go through the situation or be privileged at certain aspects of my life where, like you said, what about that kid that don't have the relationship or the balance or the foundation like I had? I know I'm privileged. I'm aware of it.
Yeah,
so it's my job to put a system in place. So now you may not get me, but I got to go find some people just like me, or even worse, in a worse situation. So that's kind of my goals and aspirations.
Word. And so, like, how did you get transitioning now to you being down here in Atlanta? How did you end up in Atlanta? And I guess, like, what do you see for your time down here? Like, what do you hope to kind of like accomplish?
Yeah, so Atlanta has always been a place in my heart, because I always used to come down here to visit, just because I think it was slower pace. And once again, I'm a hybrid. I don't like Philadelphia. It's too fast. I like slower pace. They like, yo, you move like a sloth. I'm like, yeah, I don't really like the fast pace. So Atlanta is like fast and it's slow at the same time. It's like country.
Yeah.
Yes,
But if I want to do something, I can.
You can, bro. It's okay. I say the same thing.
So it's just like, for me, coming down here, well, my aspirations was to come down here for graduate school. But once again, this is home for me. Like, if I don't have to leave, I won't leave or whatever. And I say that because a bunch of Philly people down here, a bunch of New Yorkers down here, LA, Chicago, everybody, it's like a melting pot of people. But the biggest thing is what I see just coming down here is Black people.
Yes.
In different aspects. Because we always talk about diversity, but we don't talk about diversity within Blackness. Everybody say, oh, we need all this diversity. Every Black person is not the same.
They're not.
And they have different experiences. So for me, coming down here, not only for graduate school in the clinical mental health counseling program at Georgia State, what brought me down here, but seeing different Black people in different areas, it drives me even more, because I got to go back to my city to go get them and say, this is what we doing, and this is how we going to do it. So it gives me an opportunity to see infrastructure and how you see sustainability.
Amen.
So for me, that's just what it is.
And I love that you said that I see this and I got to go back up to Philly. It kind of sounds like you got a vision. So, like, what's the plan for how do you communicate a vision to a group of people that may or may not see that vision, may not even see themselves fitting in that vision? How do you mesh it all together and then kind of like Noah's Ark, man, getting a group of people and then getting them down to this melting pot, this place you see as a better opportunity?
Even mentally, huh?
Mentally and physically, right?
So I use the power of social media. I know I'm not the best social media guru. I use scenario. Every time I post, it's intentional. So I know what I'm posting. I know why I'm posting it. So my thing is, find things that people can connect to. And I'm talking about all walks of life when I'm talking about people, but particularly with Black men. I post real life scenarios like how we talking on this podcast that they can connect to. So now I get 100 DMs talking about, I went through the same situation you went through. Or sometimes I just throw it out there. I throw a scenario out there that I've seen in the neighborhood and see how they connect to it. So when I go back, I reach out to them. Come on, I'm going to take you. We doing this event. So now it's a face-to-face. I'm not somebody that you can't talk to or communicate. And I give people my number. I don't care. If you playing on my phone, I can change my number. That's nothing. Like,
I could just block you.
Yeah, just block you. Like, I don't be tripping off of that. Like, I'm like, I give people my number. We can have a conversation. But I like consistency. But I think my social media allows me to be vulnerable. And I'm not afraid to be myself. So I think I use the power of social media to connect, but give real life scenarios where they feel like vulnerable enough to share. And I'm not asking, I'm not prowling. I'm just giving a scenario, putting a song on the background, and hey, do you connect? And then I get a DM.
If you could, give us an example of what one of those scenarios might look like.
All right, so let's talk about the power of relationships, domestic violence. How many people that's been in domestic violence? You get in an argument with your significant other, y'all fight. Now what? Do you have sex as the cover up? The damage is already done because y'all got physical. Are you mentally abusing that person? So I'll pose that question. How many have you experienced that? Now they might not write it on
the comments, but they
They
might
felt
DM
it
you.
already.
They
They
felt
already
it.
engaged. They
They already
stayed too
engaged.
long in the damn thing.
They already engaged.
They already
so either
confessed.
they might even DM me, or it might take weeks,
I know.
and they
It's
might,
true.
yo, can I call you?
And so for you, the people who engage
Those classes really worked.
are they really like where do they fall? Like, are they now typically like the person that you would work with to like what does that? I'm like trying to like this take it away from the business, but in the business world, what kind of lead is that, right? Like, what does that tag them as? Like, is this a hot lead, a warm lead? Are you working with them to what capacity? Like,
I'm not working with them at all. I'm just
open up the dialogue.
Dialogue, because I think people want to have conversation. Everybody want to be an expert or something. I don't consider my expert of anything. You are the expert of your life. You're the expert of your life. Now, how do we shape it? I'm just here to have the conversation because I don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
I'm still growing and still learning. I'm humble enough to say, I want to pose these questions and just coming from a real place. I'm not proud of no information. I know it's prevalent. I know it's happening. Let's bring it up. And I'm not gossiping about it. I don't care about, oh, well, he did this and she did this and did it. How do we
You're
come to
trying to
me?
create a safe space within that individual.
That's it.
To actually see themselves. You have this feeling. You're connecting with this. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, and we need that safe
I
space.
understand.
Yeah.
I get it. I love it.
Yeah,
I think that you're starting the right way. I don't know what you've been cultivated under, past daddy and grandpa and in college, but it sounds like you've been having some great situations and that you're able to connect with others through those experiences, and even just with this whole AI social media thing, and you're not running away from it. You're actually using it as a tool to be a positive.
Yeah, absolutely.
So wow.
Yeah, I want to switch gears just a little bit and kind of have you, if you could, reflect on the time you did that TED Talk. Because like I seen that video and it was really powerful, but to give the context to our audience on like what that TED Talk was about and what kind of like, first of all,
What is TED Talk?
oh, you never heard of?
No.
Wow. Okay. Damn. Jess.
I'm just reeling.
Damn. All right. So TED Talk is basically a platform where like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I'm gonna just call him Ted. Ted basically said, I'm going to get a bunch of high thinkers to create their own talk and get on the platform TED Talk. And we're going to do them in universities, colleges. We might do them at conference centers, but we're just going to record high value talks,
Like
essentially
it.
speakers,
I like it.
right? So,
innovative.
so Nafis did a TED Talk, and it did very well. But tell our listeners about like what it was about and what gave the context to you making that the topic. Because first of all, hats off to you for even formulating a TED Talk. The
Oh, this
preparation.
is you that created TED Talk.
No. He formulating his TED Talk, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but formulating it, putting it all together, then delivering it. What was the motivation behind it?
It wasn't. I was having a regular conversation.
Wow.
And for me, I'm a relationship type person. If we're not aligned, I'll move away. Like I can tell from the first conversation on where this relationship may go or what have you. So somebody that heard me speak before or just was talking, having a conversation, they recommended me. So I didn't proud to try to get a TED Talk.
Talk about alignment, right?
Like alignment. Yeah, it was like, I think you'd be good at doing a TED Talk. I'm like, I watch them all the time. I'm nervous because you hear the noise and stuff. It's like a whole production, and people prep
And
for
it's
these.
an audience.
It's an audience.
Nice.
But people prep for these.
I love this.
Yeah.
I like
They prep for this stuff for like a year sometimes. They get a coach and everything. So me, I'm like, you want me to talk on a TED Talk?
Cool.
You want to hear me? Okay. So the topic came up for me was more of just introducing who I was. So similar to the podcast, I wanted to introduce my story because that allowed me, that was my first speaking engagement, period.
First speaking engagement, and it's a TED Talk.
It's a TED Talk.
It's crazy.
And when
Look
you
at
see
me,
it,
I'm like, you
when
gotta
you see
get
it,
it
when you
on.
see him, you'll understand what he's saying. Like, so for me, I was nervous because I'm like, once again, I was that why are you thinking of me in this regard? What do you want to hear from me? And I'm prepping for it, but I don't know what it's going to be like. I hear the noise. It's like the TED Talk noise. And what I prepared for was adults, but it was middle school students. Oh, I didn't love it at the time because my talk was at a, like you said,
high level.
High level. I had to dub it down.
And you trying to
Even better.
and you trying to, I'm sure at some point, like try to make it interesting for them and be, not and be cool. And,
You're naturally interesting. They didn't even have to worry.
But I'm sure you worried about that though. Like
I'm worried about
You know what I'm saying?
I
You know what
get
I'm saying?
the whole anxiety or this fear within it because it's like now it's an even bigger audience.
Yes.
Forget adults that can really compartmentalize their thoughts.
Yes.
These kids are like weighing on me. They're relying on me.
Yes.
Yeah. To perform.
Yes.
You've been performing your whole life. Go.
been very nervous at performing. And when the spot, like, one thing I like about myself, I suffer from anxiety, depression, PTSD, and I got a learning disability, dyslexia. So once again, all those things are playing before I get up there. I'm shaking. I'm like I'm trying to calm myself down and not realizing like I'm about to go in front of these people. First time telling my story out loud and really can piece it together and tell you point, boom, 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 all the way up. And I'm like, I invited my coaches, I'm administration because I was a graduate assistant at the University of Missouri. So I invited them just to come see. Like, worst mistake in my life because I'm nervous. But when I did it, I was nervous. And it was one of those things where like, it was kind of like a healing moment
That's
for
why
me.
I was
You was
wondering.
able to vent and get it all out.
Yeah, it was like, it was practice for me.
Wow.
Because I know I'm going to get another opportunity to do another one or something similar because I'm going to put the energy out there. But now it's like, I look at myself as an inner city kid that I never dreamed about doing this. I never thought about being on a stage telling my story. Once again, this thing may be impactful, but it took me 4 years to post it. I did the TED Talk in 2020.
Understand. This is what you guys are talking about. Okay.
It took me, my friend, my business manager, Nisa, yo, give me, she was arguing with me. I was like, I got it on my phone. I'm not sending nobody. I never posted on YouTube because I hated looking at myself.
Wow.
I hated hearing myself. I hated like, I'm like, it's not perfect. When you speak and you want it to be perfect, like how you see yourself. So I was fighting that. I was like, I'm scared of being judged.
And that's such a normal thing too.
It
Everybody deals with it. I remember my first podcast, I used to do audio podcasts only the first 2 years.
Wow.
And I remember like the first 50 episodes, I would listen to them. I'm like, yo, I
Y'all
hate
making
this.
me proud of myself.
I'm like, I hate this. I'm like, I hate this. Like, this shit sound ass. Like, my voice. This is how I sound when I talk to people. And then I don't remember who it was exactly, but it was just like, just keep putting it out there. Just leave it. Don't delete it. Just leave it there, and you're gonna hear yourself get better.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it was. So when was the switch for you? When did you start getting more comfortable with the speaking?
Oh, I got comfortable as people started inviting me to podcasts. I started getting paid for speaking.
Wow.
So it wasn't even about the pay. I'm like, I didn't know people were offering me to speak. I'm like, I must sound good.
It must sound good. I must have a good message.
Must have a good message, but I know how to tell my story.
Yeah.
Even if I'm nervous, like I can still tell my story. Once I get into it and people want to hear it and it's impactful, because once again, don't bring me on anything that's not intentional and you don't know what you're going to get. I'm very transparent on social. So what you see on social media is exactly what you're going to see off. So if you book me, you're going to get all of me. You ain't going to get a halfway. I'm not going to be politically correct the way you want me to be. Make sure you booking the right person. And that's not a threat. It's intentional.
That's real. That's the realest shit I heard.
That's intentional because I'm like, yo, for my people, and when I'm talking about my people, I'm talking about the black community. I got to speak this language so you understand. Because if I talk clinical, you may not get it. I don't want to talk over somebody. I want to talk to you.
You got it.
Like, I don't want to be that, oh, I got 5 degrees and, you think you're better. I'm already fighting that already. And most of the time, I'm the only black male student in the program.
Wow.
So I'm fighting that too. It's like, when do I get to relax? Just be. I don't.
You do hear?
Right. You
Absolutely.
do hear.
Chill.
But just think about it. I'm at Georgia State. It's 2 black men in my program, and the rest is other. So for me, I'm in education where I'm the only one I'm from the inner city. I wear sweatpants to class. Sometimes I come to class late, not on purpose.
Just life.
Just life. My presentation, I got a beard, got a bald head, or whatever. So I don't speak clinical all the time.
I'm about to say, do you feel yourself because you're in that environment that you have to code switch?
No, I don't code switch.
Okay.
the thing where I find myself doing, I isolate because when I speak, everybody just wait for me to talk. I'm waiting for.
So it's so funny that you say this, okay? Because I've been in rigorous programs and the only African American woman, but it is so funny how hard we are on ourselves.
Yeah. That we feel like we even have to do that.
The world's made us this way,
Yeah.
and then of course our parents followed suit. But really, it was the world,
Yeah.
us humans, the world, and so. Like you said, your story is natural because it's natural for really all of us. We just all can't convey it. We don't have enough strength to know our feelings and convey them. You have that talent. You really do. And you're trailblazing. And I wanted to say to you, I think me and Kai want to say to you, we're proud of you.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
We're proud of you and thankful for you sharing yourself and being that open and that transparent because that's what fearless looks like. Even though we have fear naturally, right? But being fearless is walking even in that fear when they say, oh, you're not going to have fear. I'm fearful right now, but I'm going to still have that fearless approach about me. So, and that's what we need to teach the children. It's okay to be you in any capacity. I don't care if you don't have food on the table. I don't care if you got too much food on the table and you don't even want to eat that shit, basically, and they need to see it in the form that looks like them. But it's funny, they waited for you to speak.
All the time.
It shows the power and where it's at.
All the time.
When did you know that that your audience was those middle school students? Like, at what point when you heard the sound and you walked on the stage and you looked in the audience, you see?
So it was somebody before me, and so the stage is here, and I'm behind. So I see everybody. So it's adults first, and then I see kids walking in after they done, because they got to flip everything around. So as they walking in, I say, I'm next.
Yeah.
What is going on?
Wow. Oh, wait. So the person before you, their audience was adults.
And then I see the kids walking in, and I'm like, I'm next. So they must be for me.
You got it. You have that spirit, though. You have it.
That's crazy.
Oh yeah. You'll never, and that's the hardest audience to please. That's
Yes.
the hardest
Yeah.
audience to actually get. Adults will give you forgiveness. They'll give you grace.
Yeah.
Kids
will
are
be like,
brutally
"Boo,
honest."
it's
Brutally.
boring.
And then you looking in their faces, you can see if you boring them.
Yeah.
Right? Like they're not really socially aware on their cues. Like when they could be yawning because they're tired, not because they bored, but they'll be, oh, and you like, yo, is this bad? Like,
Facts.
so
True.
yeah, kids can be brutal.
Wow, God put him right into a room first speaking.
Put him in the
right
fire.
In front of all these people just to show you how great you are.
Wow.
Hopefully you got to see that.
But this is what we were just talking about. Like,
Yeah.
God gives us the toughest battles to the
don't-
strongest soldiers. You know what I'm saying? And like we literally just talked about this.
Wow.
And so like, if for you, it sounds like you were constantly given these tests, and then like no matter what, you rising above it. You're put in these boxes where for anybody else, identity could be like it could be an identity crisis. You stay true to yourself. You realize who you are. You go back down to the structure that you had with your father and your grandfather. What do you feel like is the most consistent thing for you that always brings you back to center? Is it that foundation from your grandfather and father? Like, how does it live with you, on a day-to-day basis?
Or is there something else?
Or is it something else, right?
I think it's foundation, but I think it's the ancestors. It's like somebody sacrificed for us. So I'm willing to die for my people. I'm okay with that.
gosh.
I'm okay with the plight that I'm fighting right now. And I know some of the greatest thinkers, they were psychologists, they were doctors.
Yes.
And for me, one of like Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, I watch Malcolm X and I'm looking at them speeches. I'm like, James Baldwin and Assata Shakur. I'm looking at Fred Hamptons and I'm like, they died young.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like, I know I'm cut from that cloth and I know I will be in the fight back then. And I think, once again, that goes back to my family. My father instilled that and know who you are at the end of the day. And my grandfather used to always say, I don't care about your dad, me, or your mom. Make sure you take care of yourself. And that sticks with me to this day. It's like, you have an obligation not only to yourself, but to your community. Because if nobody's fighting and nobody's willing to sacrifice, it's the cycle going to continue where we lose. So I'm willing to put up with that fight. And I think that always humbles me because for what I'm doing right now, like y'all say, y'all proud of me. I don't see what I'm doing. I'm just going. I'm the worst evaluator of myself. So I always like outside people to tell me like, yo, I see you should lean more into that. I'm okay with advice and constructive criticism Because I don't see, when I'm doing this work, once again, I got 5 degrees. I ain't paid for none of them.
Damn. So your why is not even like your why is.
You got
This is interesting because it's like your why is behind you, not in front of you. And what I mean by behind you, like you just said, the ancestors, all the people that's done it before you that kind of laid the blueprint. That's kind of like what keeps you moving, because anybody, for you to say, I don't see it, I'm just doing it.
Yeah.
How, like, for anybody else who's just doing it with no results, eventually they stop doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like, for you, is there like what is the result? Like, or is this something that you could keep going with no result? Like, I guess that's like the question I'm trying to frame. I really don't know how I'm trying to articulate it. This is kind of where I'm struggling to articulate it.
You know, I get into life. I see things, certain people, like, this is where there's a purpose for everybody.
Yes.
This guy
And sometimes
has
even
5
multiple.
degrees and he's never paid a dime for them. The first time that he ever walked into a room to speak, he had the hardest audience in the room. He may not understand and see where he's going, but you're highly favored, and you're always going to get there because something is working even harder than you to get you there. This is exciting. It's exciting to see purposeful people. And everybody has a purpose. You may not ever be this guy that speaks on this panel, but know that every single position has importance. Kai, what are you thinking about?
You just turned into a damn shaman. I'm thinking, all right, I'm about to edit this jaw. I gotta do a little slow zoom on jazz. I'm about to add some meditative music.
I get these things and it's like I literally can see your life.
Yeah.
My God. This guy has to be protected.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Like how
you already is.
You're literally manifesting for yourself. You're bringing pillars, and you already have them. I don't even know. You guys know I don't know. I don't know you. Mm-hmm. But like I literally can start to see people around you and what you're going to be doing. Wow. And then your hat says 3 for 3.
And you said it too, like when you said like,
Wow.
I know I'm gonna get another opportunity to speak anyway because that's the energy I'm putting out there. I think that was the most powerful shit you said, because it all starts with the energy you put out there. A lot of times when we say we want more, we putting out the opposite energy. Yeah. We putting out the energy of lack. We putting out the energy of how everything's against me. We putting out the energy of like how nobody supports me. We putting out the energy where I'm not enough. I'm not this. I'm not that. Where you put out the energy of I'm going to attract that next. Like I know another opportunity coming because that's the energy I'm putting out there. Yeah. I know I'm gonna do this because it's the energy I'm putting out there. I'm gonna keep doing this because it's the energy I'm putting out there. Right. So it was like that's so crazy to me.
You want to know what I feel like a lot of the greats have? And no matter what, they either get it young or they get it through the journey. And it's understanding their feelings and being able to convey them. And if you cannot be one with what you're feeling, not saying you have to spill out everywhere, right? Because all you did was take the jabos off.
Yep.
Okay? But you understood what you were feeling in order to protect yourself. Like your father said, take care of yourself. Yeah. Right? And I remember where I wouldn't take care of myself. Yeah. I wouldn't. I mean, I'm literally just getting there. I'm just being honest. So more so what I hear from being a trailblazer, hearing another trailblazer and another trailblazer in the room, is that children, women, men, even that inner child and adults, okay, even though that may not be your niche, but you gotta get one with those feelings. Knowing what you're feeling at a certain time will allow you to be able to channel them and use this instead of those. Yeah. Because those will get you in trouble all the time.
I know at one point you mentioned, Nafis, how like you struggled with like opening up and articulating specifically to like other like women. Do you feel like what Jazz is saying, are you at a place now where you feel like you have come like one with those feelings, or like is there still work? Like, what work do you feel like is left in that space?
I'm a work in progress. I'm gonna be honest with you. I still struggle, like, and I know it. I'm aware of it, and it's something that I'm consciously trying to get better. And like I said, I'm conditioned to protect myself because I feel like I've never been protected in the sense of my environment. Because just imagine, like, I'm getting killed in my environment being in the inner city, but just imagine I'm getting killed in a classroom because I'm the only one. And I'm in this fight by myself, but I know I got to bring other people along. So I'm always trying to, when is the time to go? When is the time to reel it back? When is the time to go? Reel it back, or just stay even, or just isolate. So I'm still working on my communication every day. I'm learning myself. I'm evolving. And I feel like I never share this with anybody, but I share it with y'all. I feel like I'm the chosen one. I really believe that. Like I wake up and I have thoughts and I try to predict things and stuff happens. And I'm not afraid of failure no more.
You can feel that.
Yeah, I'm not afraid of failure. And I think that's where that's where the envy.
But you know why you're not afraid of failure?
Yeah.
You know why you're not afraid of failure, bro? It's natural.
Yeah.
It's because you just said it. I'm not stopping.
Yeah.
And you can only fail if you literally only reach failure when you stop.
Yeah.
Because like you can mess something up, but that don't necessarily mean you failed. Mm-hmm. You failed when you mess something up and you don't try again to try and fix it. Yeah. So it's like the fact that you said on one end, I just keep going. You know, I'm not stopping. This is what I'm doing. I'm the chosen one. Yeah. It's natural that the chosen one will not be afraid to failure because you can't fail because you're not stopping. You on go mode. Yeah. So I just wanted to point that out there. I just wanted to point that out.
So how do we create more chosen ones? How do we create more people that understand they are chosen? Because we are. Yeah. All of us are chosen. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's funny, but it doesn't, some of us have to build it. Yeah. Some of us, it comes with an encounter. Yeah. Right? Some of us, it was against that wall with that book. If somebody said, do you know how important you are? Mm-hmm. Right? How do we build people that know that they're chosen and their individual purpose and they don't have to be like everybody else?
I don't know. I think as a kid, I was the middle child. My oldest brother, I was middle, and I was always different, meaning that I always try to be perfect from the womb. If you talk to my mom, you talk to my dad, they would tell you, or you talk to he's trying to be perfect because I didn't never want to get in trouble. I knew then that the way people reacted towards me, and I never gave off negative energy, that I was different as a kid. So as it speeds up, I see how it's people that envy me that I don't even know that I think I'm cool with.
You get it.
And I'm like, I don't have no beef with anybody. So I don't know if you can build people up. I just feel it in my soul and my spirit of who I know who I am and what I'm willing to sacrifice. And I think that allows me to be me. And when I say I'm the chosen one, not in an arrogant way, I feel like I'm unafraid. Whatever consequences you give me, give it to me. God, give me that assignment. Because I'm not afraid to die. I'm not afraid. I seen it already. I know what death looked like. It's about the legacy that I'm gonna leave on this world, not just for my daughter, for the world. Because when I talk about Fred Hampton, when I talk about Malcolm X, they didn't make it. Fred Hampton was 20, 21 years old when he got shot and killed in his bedroom. Mm-hmm. But the way he articulated himself or what the Black Panther Party was, I see myself in that. But they were younger, so I'm playing catch up.
Yeah.
You understand?
I understand.
I get it. Sorry, I'm from Oakland, California.
No, so you know. So for me, I don't know if you can build it. I just think it's something. I think God just said, "Hey, listen, I'm gonna put you in these assignments. You got to find your way out of it, but also be humble enough that I'm gonna sit you down when it's time to sit you down, and I'm prepared for that."
Yeah, and the thing is, though, that's tricky is like we all get those assignments.
Yeah, and
a lot of us are so consumed with, like you said earlier, with social media and all outer things, not the inner things, that a lot of times we just walking around with God on D&D because we just kind of like looking at the things that everybody else doing, playing catch up, not to the inside of what you said, but catch up to the things that's going on outside. Yeah. We see somebody on social media doing this, well, now you want to do that. You see this going on, you see this movie, now you want to do that. It's like, you constantly not really searching inside that you not even hearing the assignments that's been given to you. Yeah. And that's why I feel like why most people don't find that purpose, don't find that calling, is because it's you hearing it, but you just got for some reason the channel on mute or whatever you got going on. So I think people just need to get back into themselves and just kind of like isolate. For you being a mental strategist, where do you feel like people can find that center back into themselves? How do you slow down? Whether it's leaving these fast cities and going to a slow city, right? Like, what are some mental tactics to slow yourself and get back inside yourself?
Well, for me, once again, I'm comfortable with myself. I removed myself from an environment that didn't fit me
Got you.
intentionally.
So
I
isolation.
was
some
not even
form.
isolated. I just removed myself from where people weren't thinking like me, or where I wanted to go. I found those people on social media. I connected. So I'm a part of an organization called the Counseling Brothers of Atlanta. I'm a mentee and I'm the community engagement chair, where organization is a nonprofit, and we have 35 black male therapists. We probably the biggest in the country.
I believe it.
We probably the biggest in the country. So I reached out to the founder in 2019. I'm with the organization now. And the thing was, once again, I'm going to reach out, whether you tell me no or whatever.
Intentional movements.
I'm intentional. Now I'm the community engagement chair of the organization.
That's crazy. Yeah.
And graduate in less than in a month to become a licensed mental health therapist. For me, I found my tribe of people. I removed myself and I placed myself in an environment where I seen people think like me, they talk like me, they post like me, they got similar interests. So for me, it was very easy to say, this is what I'm doing it. I'm gonna do it my way, but I'm gonna lean on somebody who has done it. So now I'm not running the same tracks of making mistakes.
You know what he just said right there? I'm gonna put this in layman's terms for people, right? Because like I'm listening to you, I'm like, yo, that's the answer. For people to be able to get back into themselves and be able to get to that receiving station that we're talking about to get those assignments, is like you got what you just said is like the antenna back in old school TV.
Yeah.
You know, you can't get a reception. What you got to do, you got to move the antennas around. What you just said is you got to put yourself in a new environment. Okay, you point in this direction. That's not the environment you need to be in. You need to probably go in this direction right here. And now you surrounded by people that's on the same wavelength as you. Yeah. They talking the same way you want to talk. They asking the right questions. They dialogue in the right way. Now your mind is mentally aligned in that frequency, in that wavelength you need to be on to start receiving those assignments.
Absolutely.
So
and we
man,
get to move quicker in business in our purpose. Yeah. Because now we're in alignment. And we have those other cultivated people with us, right? To say, hey, don't do it this way. Let's do it this way. This actually gave us better results.
Yeah.
And you get to skip that beat. And that's that. I mean, just when we were just talking to our Shell about just how do we move a little bit faster in business, you know, as a Black community, we have what we need, but we're just not using it effectively. But we can when we're in the right environments.
Absolutely.
And there's more people that think like us in order to cultivate and help.
Yeah, because you got to be in alignment. Yeah, I feel like if you're not in alignment, it's kind of like going in a direction and then you have a magnet going in the opposite direction and it's just pulling you while you going here. Like, so it's just, you got to get back in alignment with that magnet.
And that's so funny because I believe that happens with everybody individually, even when they don't know that it's time to move or that they're moving, right? You always have that magnet. I wanted to touch on this just because you said this a couple of times, and I think there's a lot of men in the world like this. I've actually engaged with them a lot. Your mom was there, but she wasn't there. And you lacked a nurturing that was needed in order for you to engage with the biggest multiplier of your life. And in turn, you ended up having one. Today, after accepting that about yourself, understanding maybe that's where it kind of formulated, not being able to emotionally land with the woman, right? What have you done to nurture that part of you?
That's a good question.
Great question. Therapy. I've been in therapy for 15 years.
Nice.
I have a lot of mentors that have wives, or what have you, and I speak not only just because you have a wife, but wisdom. And what was their upbringing? Because I always like hearing people's story. I want to know the root of a person. How did they get to where they got? And when I admire somebody, I really get fixated with the thought of where could I go? Where could I take my life? And what are their relationships with? Because I wanted that.
course.
I yearned for mom and son and whatever, but it was too late. And I'm not saying it's too late now. It was too late at the time of what I needed.
Train up. Yeah,
Because I'm destroying people
I understand.
unintentionally, whether it's unintentional or intentional. The women didn't care. You ruined me. And I took full responsibility and accountability. So now when I think about it, I look at my daughter and for me, it's a partnership. Yes, I'm her father. Yes, I got to tell her certain things, but I really want her to explore, to make her own decision. Because it go back to that thing, like what you said about God. People don't have a relationship with God because it's not being shown in a positive light. So if I don't see it, that don't mean I don't believe in him. I don't know what it looked like. I don't know how to pray. I don't know how to take the time and sit with myself. I know how to take the time right now at this moment to sit with myself and be like,
Man, you're so funny. Because, and I say this because he could be met with a woman, and I've been there, where you're met with an initiated woman, right? And she's sitting there and she's like, she wants to give that guy time, but he doesn't know how to take it. To cultivate in that time to meet her. Even though she may be here, she's waiting, right? And she gives you that space, but you don't even know what to do.
Yeah.
Because you don't know who you belong to.
Yeah.
You don't know that you're chosen.
yeah,
Right? And so that's why you're in the business of creating more chosen individuals.
yeah.
Essentially the people that lead us all on this earth, which is man.
And but then
Super excited. I am.
But then it's like, be okay with your flaws. Like I think sometimes people try to hide it, and I post my flaws.
Facts.
Like I want you to humanize me. So some go
Please.
out. I'm okay with it because I put it out there already. So it's like, yeah, I ain't have a bad day. Yeah, I didn't do this assignment. Yeah, I got an F today. Whatever the case. Yeah, I ain't talked to my daughter. I'm going to express that self and express myself in a way where I feel comfortable. Like I'm not doing this for nobody. People get mad at people. Why are you telling all your business? Sometimes that's the only people you have to talk to. That's someone's going to listen.
And somebody needed to hear it.
And someone needed to hear.
That's why I was called to tell it.
But exactly. But then again, like you don't know how people contemplating suicide.
Right.
If you releasing on social media and you not dying by suicide, I'll take that all day.
Understood. So that's baby steps. That's cool. That's you in therapy. I mean, you don't always have to pay for it. It's not,
You know?
get it? I agree.
You know, so I'm never, for me, it's never judging someone. And I think that's where my counseling hat comes on because I'm trained to look at it objectively. You know, we all have biases, but I can look at somebody like with headlines. I don't read headlines. I don't get, oh, you see what happened? I don't follow none of those pages.
You got it.
I don't watch TV. I stream everything that I want to watch. I'm a documentary person. I watch the Animal Planet.
Same.
I do all the stuff
Love
that
all
I
that
want to do. Like
Every man watches Animal Planet.
Yeah,
okay?
I mean, but one thing
We
I
know
want
why.
I want to touch on though is like, Nafis, what you said was perfect. You're perfect, bro, because and some people would
Oh
disagree.
God! Don't tell him that he's
But
graduated.
but
from
but
that.
he is though, right? Because when
We're not putting you in the box. Don't
expectations, man.
some people would disagree because of what you just said, right? Oh, I have flaws. I accept my flaws. But that second part is what makes you perfect, right? The fact that you accept the flaws. People think that perfection is being flawless. But perfection is not being moved by the flaws that you have, but being able to move forward past the flaws that you have. So for you to be able to sit here and say, yeah, I got flaws and I'm going to continue to move forward and I'm going to voice my flaws. I'm going to address them in a light to where other people can learn from them. Being unmoved by flaws is what makes you perfect. So you're perfect because you're the only person who was like you. I'm perfect because I'm the only person that's like me. Same thing with Jazz. It's like once we all realize that these flaws are not what make you perfect or imperfect, is addressing them is what makes you perfect. So I just wanted to address that and let you know that, bro. Man, I'm feeling really good. And I feel like we could keep going down this rabbit hole of mental health. But I want to recenter and center our guests before we leave them, Nafis. And that's like just in hindsight of all the things that you learned being down here in Atlanta now with the mission to, help heal and bring light to not just mental health, but to help find the other chosen ones so that they could, in turn be you and amplify the impact that you're making. What would you say is the first step to a healthy mindset and fixated on abundance and not lack?
Great question. I think the first thing is knowing that you need help, allowing yourself to say, I need help. And I think the world doesn't allow you to say that, especially as men, black men in particular. Everything that we do is based on performance. If we don't perform, we feel inadequate.
Wow.
It is the truth.
That's crazy, yeah. That's facts.
And it's like that is not the only form of leadership that the man houses. Thank God.
I think leadership is also, like you just said, saying you need help.
Yeah.
I'm so thankful.
Yeah.
That's it.
But also taking it a step further, probably being able to articulate where you need help in.
But being vulnerable enough to share, because, if I say I'm broke, that's a red flag in some people's eyes. Oh. So for me, I went from patient to provider to have these conversations and be able to give language to what people are feeling. So if a brother comes to me, I'm broke, I'm on my last leg, I'm ready to hurt someone, I'm going to help him try to restructure his thought process.
Thank you, Jesus.
In the moment and say, what are the pros and cons to this result? And allow him space to cry, give him a hug, and walk him through that process.
Yes.
Because I think a lot of times people may look at you, may say, I'm perfect. I'm allowing myself to walk in your shoes and being okay and humble myself. I don't know what you've been through. I don't know what you've been through.
Yeah.
But I'm allowing myself to say, step back. It's not about you. How can I help you? Because when you do something in the community, that's a reflection of me. Don't matter where it came from. If you got dark skin, they judging us all. And we're not a monolith, but that's how they looking at it. So for me, I always try to hold space. I don't say create a safe space, because I know when a space is safe if I'm in an environment. So you can't create this. I have to hold this space for you to just be. And I think once I allow myself to do that, and they allow me to enter their space, then we break down the wall. I get another day, or I get another minute with them. So I really just sitting with people, whether it's through Zoom, in person, phone call. Yo, brother, how you feeling? Because everybody asks the questions. How you doing? I'm good. No,
I'm good.
What was your day like?
This. I just so appreciate, as a black woman, I think that I'm definitely a lot like you. Meaning, I'm out there. You know what I mean? I'm just for my people, right? Mm-hmm. God isn't here for the saved; He's here for the unsaved, and we understand the plight of our own. But the vulnerability that men need to see with other men, a woman can never save them. She never could, And it's on our backs. We will. You know it. You already know. We and you too. We will lay it down. You've heard your mother's wail. But only man can speak to man in certain form. I've identified it. I know it. I know when a certain man speaks to my daughter. We just honor it. Yeah. We know what comes first. So thank you. This has been an awesome episode for me. Just as your sister, to see beautiful Black excellence in the male form, from Kai to you. I cannot pronounce your name right now. Don't beat me up. But that's Big N right there.
Big N. That's big energy.
That's Big N. So, but yeah, I just want to say thank you for every woman that can't say it and may not see this episode. Thank you for being you, for continuously working at you, never giving up on you, because the head and the tail is only as good as the head. The tail out here wagging, but guess what? You guys are giving us hope. Damn. It's gonna be in line.
Wow. That's deep, Jazz.
Be in line.
That's deep.
Yeah, that's real deep, man. Nafis, before you go, bro, I need you to elaborate for us on, you said the creating a space and holding a space. That's still kind of going over my head a little bit. Break that down for our audience and for me, the differences of holding space and creating a safe space.
Right. So if I'm in a room, say particularly I'm in a room, whatever, and I'm saying, well, Everybody, I'm creating a safe space. I don't fit the part. I don't talk the language of you. I don't connect on a face to face. It's not a safe space.
I agree.
I can't tell you it's a safe space.
Oh, got you.
I can't tell you that.
Right.
Now, the difference on me holding space, I want to invite you to this space. I want to invite you to participate.
And I determine whether or not it's safe for me.
And you determine. You don't have to share. You can just be a participant. You can sit, and if you need to leave room, that's okay too. That's me holding space. So I can't dictate whether it's because we might have a conversation that's unsafe.
This reminds me of the energy well.
So if I hold space, anybody has the opportunity to get up and leave if they feel triggered, activated, or they feel like this is not in alignment of who they are. I'm honoring anybody as who they are, and I want them to be authentically them. That's the difference.
So wow.
Invitation.
So people saying that I want to create. So people saying I'm creating a safe space. That's really a unrealistic expectation to cast because you can't guarantee that you're creating a safe space for everyone.
Everybody had their own perspective, so I'm not gonna knock them. That's their opinion. But for me, I'm not creating no space. I'm holding space because you might not want to be in my space. We might not be in alignment, so it may not be safe. I may be the trigger.
This is
that's crazy. Yeah, that's very true. Man, Nafis, tell our listeners where they can find you, of course, but also like any like special projects you have going on, some things that you super excited about. And to me, this really sounds like having you back on for a part 2 or like some type of panel discussion at some capacity, because I feel like we just scratching the surface on not just mental health, but also that perspective of cultivating $1 million mind. So I would love to have you back on, but tell our listeners about a little bit more about you.
Yeah. So you can find me on social media, Nafis Ricks 2 on Instagram, LinkedIn, Nafis Ricks, Twitter, Nafis Ricks. And also I got a couple projects coming up, meaning like I'm going to speak out in Austin, Texas at one of the professors' class, speak to student athletes. I got the Black Student Athlete Summit coming up in LA, May 23rd to 26th. So I'll be there speaking on the main stage. I'll make my announcement on where I'm going for my PhD.
Nice.
Potentially, but I'm going to get in for sure. And yeah, I think I'm on this run to do a lot of speaking engagements. So that's what I got so far. And just waiting for my phone to pick up, or if it doesn't, I'm gonna keep inspiring by social media and keep spreading the message about mental health.
Man, shout out to you, Nafis. Man, I can't say it enough that you really brought the energy, but you also brought us back to reality, grounded us with this episode and this conversation. I'm sure Jazz can agree, but I definitely needed this conversation, and I know our listeners really needed this conversation because, man, we was just talking about this too. Like,
I know.
We always bringing on the entrepreneurs and we talking about like, oh, this is how you can do this, you can make this. But a lot of the people listening not even ready for those conversations because we all at some capacity are struggling with some form of mindset or blockers that's just not allowing us to grasp that information right now. So us having these conversations every once in a while, I feel like are really needed and really useful because it helps us get past what those blockers are so that we can appreciate that type of information in a different light at another time. Jazz, how you feeling about today's conversation?
Man, I feel like this is amazing. It starts, I'm a visionary. It starts to make me encapsulate people together and put them in a house to where we can make this a powerhouse, not just for the audience, but for them as well, right? So that you can have an encounter. Encounters are so important. It's so exciting how God literally carries us. I'm serious. God, you get it. This is not by mistake. It's usually by design. So all I can say again is I'm just thankful. I'm excited about our next group of people. I'm excited about you and what we're going to put together for you next time.
Yeah. I'm excited that you're excited. And Nafis, I appreciate you joining us, man, on your Saturday. Taking time out your day to have this conversation with us, being an open book too, sharing with us your story. And to our listeners, I appreciate y'all tuning in every single Monday, dropping those comments, letting us know what you like, why you like it, because that's all a part of how we can grow with you all as well. If you really got some value from today's episode, though, make sure you smash that like button and share it to a family member, a friend, a brother, a sister, whoever you could think of. that needs this information, because I personally feel like it was transformative for me, and I hope you guys got the same transformation as well. But with that being said, I'm your guy Kai Speaks. That's Heavy House Jazz. You heard from Nafis Ricks. We out.
Me out.
Peace.